Alright, our next little thing here, and it goes hand in hand with progressivism, and this is actually interesting because progressivism and imperialism happening at the same time. Same three presidents, possibly a few other ones early with imperialism. And it's actually interesting that they're trying to give more people the rights here, yet in imperialism, as you're going to see, they're actually taking away rights from other people. Now, this is the roots of imperialism, and this is the first video, and it's from isolationism to actually involvement in world affairs. Here we go. Now, Washington, when Washington left the White House, number one, he refused the third term. And the next thing was, he actually made a lot of really things interesting. Number one, he said be wary of political parties. But the bigger thing here in imperialism is he said, don't get involved in foreign entanglements. Don't get involved with other countries' stuff. It's not your business. And we stuck to that for many, 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 many years. Okay? When we stuck to it, it is actually called isolationism. This is the idea that we're not making alliances, we're not having little friendships, we're not doing anything other that doesn't behoove us, that doesn't benefit us. All right? Now, late kind of the thing going on here, and it actually was responsible for starting the United States, was called colonialism. And this is the practice of other countries going and setting up colonies that would provide a source of income for the mother country, okay? We were actually, colonies. There were the 13 colonies of England. So this actually, when we get past Washington later on, and we come upon a president named James Monroe. And James Monroe gave us the Monroe Doctrine. Basically, guys, there's two hemispheres, Eastern and Western. We told the Eastern, namely the powers of Europe, England, France, Russia, Portugal, Spain, etc., you stay on your side, we'll stay on ours. If you cross that line, we're going to kick your butt. Now, we didn't say we're going to kick your butt, it was implied. And so we basically said you're going to keep your hands on your own country, stay over there. But other people actually saw this as the United States laying claim to all these countries in North and South America. Whichever side you're on, it was there. Now, one of the first diplomacies we're going to use, diplomacy is actually dealing with foreign countries, was called the gunboat diplomacy. Now, the gunboat diplomacy was actually used in Japan. We kind of forced Japan to trade with us at gunpoint. A man named Matthew Perry was sent there by President Millard Fillmore to get Japan to open up. Japan sent him back and said, I tell you, President, we don't have any need for it. And the President said, no, you need to make him understand. So we sent these gunboats as a show of force. Hey, if you don't trade with us, we can unleash this ghastly power upon you. And so Japan did. That's kind of the first time imperialism hits the scene, but we called it gunboat diplomacy, okay? And there's Matthew Perry getting Japan to trade with us. Now, one of the commodores of the Navy, his name was Alfred T. Mahan, wrote a book that was called The Influence of Sea Power Upon History. He said, we have to, number one, build a strong Navy. We have to make this great and impregnable force that no one would ever want to mess with us. Number two, we have to take over territory. It's imperialism. Especially ones that would benefit us. We could build naval bases, and we could have fueling stations for coal. And the third thing, we need to build a middle American canal that would allow us to go from South America and go to Asia. Problem is, we're going way down to the Cape of Good Hope around the bottom of South America, and ships are being lost, and so we've got to have a shorter route. Now, Teddy Roosevelt followed these to a T. He built a strong navy, we took over territory, and the Middle American Canal followed. And it's actually really cool when you see that and you can connect that. Now, I do need to talk about a sphere of influence. A sphere of influence was kind of a modern colonialism as we're moving in the 1900s, and that's basically we're not going to take over the whole country, just a tiny part. Now, this is the sphere of influence of China in circa 1910. So you can see as you went to the yellow area, you had no French. If you went to the orange area, you had no English. The green, you had no German. The purple, you had no Japanese. And the red, you had no Russian. And so this is really difficult to trade. A lot of different things going on there. So now we come to the Middle American Canal. there were two countries chosen as options for the Middle American Canal. One was Nicaragua, and the other was Panama. Now, Panama is the shortest one. Nicaragua has a natural lake that could be used to kind of benefit as well. Now, why did we ultimately choose Panama and Nicaragua and all those things? We'll look at that later on. Now, the last thing is the Monroe Doctrine comes into challenge. Great Britain and Venezuela were having a discussion over a colony called British Guiana. It was a boundary issue there. And so the U.S. sent a letter from Richard Olney called the Olney Doctrine. Basically, it was the Monroe Doctrine. He told Great Britain, you mind your own business. Okay? Great Britain is almost on the brink of war, but the issue calmed down, and the anger is actually redirected at Germany. And Great Britain, through arbitration, actually accepted this boundary deal. The Monroe Doctrine is enhanced, and seeing that we're able to do this, and we call this the Great Rapprochement. In other words, kind of back off. Now, why were we upset with Germany? We'll get into that, especially in World War I. Right? So that's our roots of imperialism, and we'll move on to our other video here in a second.